Because if you allow the Abudus to come in with Nama Mother's funeral, give them a period, they destin a regent, give a period, they perform the funeral, then the committee or the council which your member chief suggested can look around and find a place. Then it will be vacant for whoever's funeral is coming in.
So daily in Chekavishila, I saw we now Kavishila, I'm American. Kamal Kuma, but Tisha, Abamari, the Sahabayan and Pakom Tisha, and told him yes, she and tea, Obama, Oyina, and Sulaka and Gamma by
Your Majesty, the issue is that if a young son, after being skilled a regent, the time comes, he doesn't leave the place like that. He's a skilled age of either Karga, Miang, or Safari.
The Yana vision Banisi, or we say or the Landam, the Batafun, and Yakarga Safari.
Your Majesty, at the moment, it's only Safari put his vacant.
So many things here was Safari on that way.
And the funeral of the late, that my father, is not performed.
Over
so we have to look at these issues seriously before thinking of a regent, because you don't put the regent there and you don't know where to put him next.
So the yellow yet was said to this I can't back and leave the yellow, the map to a shield, but he's a cat or
So Your Majesty, and this is the issue where you will be having two regents.
The male and the yellow American says, I can't land my ear to my back.
So Your Majesty, it's a very serious issue. Let us give it the seriousness, and for security reasons and for the peace of DAGBON, let us bury this our father. And within a few days, come back here and see the way forward. Because we are all still causing problems for ourselves as history.
The pencil, to put a soy, Diana, as I left it to my sour. Tea, but no letter. The Kagbala sour, couple the moment is a man from Governor Yamacha to Mama.
Yesterday, Your Majesty, some issues came out and they made references to certain chiefs who occasions happened like this several years ago when there was no civilization.
Chef so Chigi, yet to down on the Jamaican had to cut
those days, those days, waging wars and killing one another wasn't a crime. But today, can we do that? Even if it has happened, the law will take its own course. So comparing Kukaragie's position and Navama's position is not comparable. Your Majesty, I will pause for a moment and then maybe hear what is next. Thank you, Your Majesty.
So, my demand is still fair.
Any other comments?
Yeah, Your Majesty.
What I want to add to what Colin said is that yesterday we gave you a document entitled Reconciliation, in which the late Yana himself signed, saying that after the death of Muhammad Abdullah, his funeral should be accorded to Yana's funeral. Everything is stated there. So this means that Nayaku gave approval to the performance of Muhammad as Yana before he died. So we should not deviate from it. That document is very, very important. And that's what we are saying today. Brother Atiende is a very popular man and a very strong man. If a mistake is made and his position is not put up properly, I don't think there will be peace for us.
So Zambanshele, Nana, Kanyala Sour Shara, the dark body. sawar ma abuni na adai na brina na sada sakti baban da ba da rai to ka di bu ne na mahamaru onyara yana o ita kan be man mo kuri yana ko kale ka ndai yana ko da di onu de so wanda di onu ma ora sakti ne na ban bar yara yana o ita kan be man mo kuri yana ko kale to don so da betune ta da barge zal ko don ndai yana ma da yi sakti ne da no to wanda sakti ma ti be no le ka chim te tere ni bolamba binaya yana mi sunyo to don so ti be li nye shi so bale ka gabriela o yera no so no mal sama li ya den to ta gadam Your Majesty, split for your consent to talk. Also pleading for the consent to the Nigerian and same to the Yogo. Also seeking permission from his elders here and seeking permission from his uncles and directors. He is going to speak strictly in accordance with the law custom. He's not going to favor the Abu side or the other side. He's going to touch on the Kugana's messenger's speech. It is the committee started sitting with the evidences, and Otufo asked a question at a point in time, and he thinks that question must be brought to bear on the negotiations. Your Majesty, he remembers you questioned the Kugana, you once questioned the Kugana regarding the order of the funerals of the two Yanas. Your Majesty, we want to know if you did ask him. The Kugana's elders reacted to that question, saying the funerals are performed in the order of the first to die. Then, Your Majesty, you next question, if it is in line with that order that the funeral of the late Muhammad will be done first. They again said yes to that question. The next question that was asked was, what then are his duties as a regent if his soul is sold? They next reacted that the regent performs as a yana. If the Kugana is a true elder of the law, as he is, he should stick to his earlier words to ensure that the funeral of Na Muhammad is performed first, as he rightly put it when the question was put to his elders.
Okay. We come to the assignment.
mba pana ni fosu rusole yawe kutufo yawe na yire ni yawe bunna sa.
I first of all want to react to statements made by my cousin.
Ne all of the what me Udachi Baprokola
Well, he started by talking about casting. And by custom, he was questioning the position of the palace, questioning the position of the pavilion. Is there any paramountcy or even chief in Dagbon where there is no pavilion?
Ne on tilge ye toa o boy ne o toxe na ye toa ka toxe sampa ye toa o bot o bonya na zuru che bien Dagbon ka de on kunye yana parbo ka oyo samani sampa kai.
And he also talked about the roadmap.
Ne ko la toxe ye toxe atenda bombo son le total.
As far as when we talk about burial in Dagbon is a holistic program.
Ne on ne mission ya ti toxe to so ye to so ma Germany ye to shama.
Burial in Dagbon involves the early funeral rites, and that is the burial, first and second funeral rites, and the installation of the regent.
Ne so
that is what it covers.
Yiri ya ne so ya na so le di pala bortol ne bonyanga ne banjiro dinnim za ka bun so ma.
Unless of course he wants to tell me in the history of Dagbon where a Yana's regent had ever been buried with the suspension of regency.
Ne kanala ba prokor ba no yo ne Dagbon no ko yisina de même no ka ba so yana ka ba jilban.
We also talked about the funerals.
Ne ola toxe yamaye to.
Yesterday we deliberated and came a long way.
Le soir just to ye trauma in chanka tampam.
And based on the findings, the rulings of the Supreme Court.
Ne just to le chanka tama in gende Supreme Court in Raina in yere to.
Supreme Court that after the findings of the Olenu Committee.
Supreme Court Raina it is on the numpa Olenu Committee in Raina in yere to.
And he yesterday he mentioned that what they just want is a funeral.
Ne swamane ba perkor ban se ne ya bulnum bo borbe shi ko kul ka ban bor.
And I cited their inconsistencies, especially relating to compromises that had been agreed on and how they were violated.
Ne ko sa zang ye to shanga songna mama kama ya bulnuma e bumran ya bandeli ba ye to beti ngwale chen tur ka wor na nyanga ko sa zang la mama songna.
He indicated the former Yana died 15 years ago.
Ne ola yende na mama le tizon yutina numbala.
And he also based his argument on the memorandum of understanding.
Ne kazan ona oye toma tepa alkaule banche dinda
And the memorandum of understanding indicated the former Yana should be treated as his funeral should be treated as a former Yana.
Ne ola zang oye toma njumba ne la bamara we ne na mamar kuli yamal demal kama yana.
That is enshrined in the general orders of the Supreme Court.
Ne la babna ye toma ne ne bi Supreme Court zal maru zalsman.
The late Yana signed the memorandum with an understanding.
Ne na ya kubra tilo on la alkawle bamala zula ne ye to shama dalil shama
an understanding which he expressed before his untimely death.
Ne la dalil ma ora nara yel poi ka lurwora ke lurwo.
And the expression was what he wrote to the regional minister, who played a major role in getting the former Yana buried at the palace.
Ne lara ye to shama na gra yirma ora pun zan pa bangzo into regional minister ra bon ba regional secretary into en yero munna na bor ye to shama foi la regional minister on ami baranya ni musunda bon man be ni yinzan da so na ma maro katne la na mi ra fa dion bangazo jumba ye to shama bor alkawle shama ora pun sabete regional minister.
And they, the elders in the letter indicated the chiefs who came and discussed and for this understanding to be established.
Na nambanda barayi ya buina babaza da din muza ti da ye tosh Buba mane regional minister agba shawara zanjende lala ye alkawle wa.
And the discussion is authentic. Once the regional minister mentioned it in detail and names, there was a government agent for the whole region.
Ne lala bunda agba alkawle shanka regional minister ma da sab lala bangma de tuene lala bangma bukata dom. And
he indicated that the funeral of the former Yana can never be performed at the palace.
Ne ora woya ne na mama kulma kutu male Yana ima.
And based on the discussion he held with the elders who went into the
Ominra yelma ora yella ka la banda kana umno tuba shawara. So
if you go back to Olenu's findings, Olenu's report, which was upheld by the Supreme Court, indicates arrogating certain powers to the former Yana will be tantamount to committing a crime.
Ne ajantele Olenu komtindra maye toama kayene dien nankar zangya de mai ya mashel nereti na mamar nere nyela tale nyela gana zat panaku.
And when Supreme Court looked at it, they upheld but came out with general orders to be able to at least bring a kind of reconciliation.
Ne la Supreme Court nra yule kabanya kaman de tu ne bang bien pour sociale ka yitoma ka namba yinga to kana to
so why his scheme was declared null and void, he never performed any traditional assignment in the bank.
So dinda nanka la yeto among mage na mamaro bay inyo namne obutum nam tuma hale dabam untakan.
But the respect had been accorded him as a former Yana.
Na ma drato jilin shere dentu nebete Yana.
And that was for the purposes of the children to have the benefit of the doubt.
Ne dom gozo den daen daleshe den daen non ka obi zon obati into di dagbon afane.
Today it appears my cousins are overlooking all that.
Na mala zon obapor namne oda chama shar yunu me yarle.
And it's also I'm actually very saddened when my cousin described Dagbon as being uncivilized.
Ne dila no nan dama pam ne bapor ko ba ne yene Dagbon yela ni sinna kaloshe.
Before the white men came to Ghana, the Gombes were civilized.
Le kweka timite les gens na pensé Ghana kan ba ne Dagbon bala yela ni nya.
So I'm sorry, what the Gombes did as at that time was what the tradition they maintained, and that is what we have followed most of the time up to this day.
Ne benda zale da bambuna zale to shan kayan ta da shama dun ka ta dol na hal din ta fana kuma.
That is my reaction to what he has just put across.
Ne onye mi ba ko bani ye ta shan nan ban fi shirin ban.
And coming back to the issue of the burial of Nayakubu and the Regency. The Regency, Nayakubu was a sitting Yana.
The Nayakubu
gazetted Yana in the country.
Ne bumra gazetto bratilan kama munye Yana.
So how can a Yana, a former Yana who was not gazetted, to have precedence over a gazetted Yana?
Ne bole kala da so banjin nte ko mbambati nte so o kultiem banjin nte so.
So the general orders was just for the respect of the fact that it is indicated that we don't skin chiefs.
Ne otman na ko bon tiye ya Dagbon ba yire na namu.
So the tradition is that Yana was a sitting president, Yana, and after his death, he should be buried as such, and the normal early funeral program should be followed.
So ne kalma no wushem yala ndar Yana ne danye undashi bande mazo. So dimi so tiyen dol kale de tumene de so kallo bonto ne bonyanga kajilo ban.
And the issue of limited authority.
Ne bela karane kaman banglan ma yem oyaye mala kargama.
I don't think we have to condone with wrongdoing.
Ne de tune te sate tumbiya tumo.
By saying that because the former Yana's son has to be given the opportunity at least to be able to perform his father's funeral for the sake of recognizing them.
Ne bozo ne don ye to ani ye na wor kamande tuene na mamar diare to sele ko male o bakule ni cha ba bank de ba bien.
So before his death, he never played any major role, and he could not carry out any traditional role in the band. But Nayakubu did it up to the time he expired.
Ne na mama da tum nam tum shere hale ante na ma na kura tumla nam tuma hale ante en dunia ya.
So if we say that a regent of Nayakubu cannot act as an acting Yana, then it means that we are going against tradition.
L'autre yene na kupana ni jimpa ka o yamal targma nuruna temperge kalbe.
Because his father was the sitting Yana and carrying out his duties. So when he inherited as a caretaker, then he has to continue from where his father stopped until the funeral is performed.
No bozo o banda ji banda mazo Obamina Jiban Mazuma, Gallery Chika, O Jilban, Tushel Dum to know to Yana and to know to Shazar, to know to the couple Martin man.
And so, as I mentioned yesterday, there has never been in the history of that bank for the Andani family to give conditions to any chief from Abu side.
Ne osa payen suhala, ne the Dabsil Canon, Dabano can Daniel Namian Sam Marak Shelle, Levzanti, Abu Nasu.
But my cousins from the Abu side have always made it their stock of trade.
Nama, oh, that Yamu for number, Anya Buyan, but Zangamal, but Tajil yet.
They always create a situation to cash in, to indicate, to push across their interest.
Let them come in Bola Dalire, Shelle, Dian Nanka, Busu Yulam Nanga.
But for the sake of peace, the Andanis always try to see how best they can compromise for us to live in harmony.
Pula Sudoso, and then him come, Gola being Poxo Shelle, Kasuro, Jen, that is a half Jen, near Madilu.
And that was why the Yana took all those measures.
Nanda Takaya, Najoa, Joe Mula,
just Yana was not discriminatory.
Ne Yana Rabaganda
Was before his untimely death.
No Pueka, Lobo, that Luro.
He had enskined people from the Abu, more than 50 chiefs from the Abu side.
No Pueka, Yana, Yapu, Olia, na Abu Nama, Ngan, Pinu.
And before, at the death of Namambla, up to Nablabla, and then up to even the time the former Yana, Muhammad Abdullah, acted as a regent, we can just count a few of the Andanis who were considered by the Abu side.
Nama, I think the Korea, Nama Tam, Kana Blabla Kana, Hana Mahamara, Jinupang. Ne, I am Kalanda in Banda, Jinambukuera,
There were only 9 Andani chiefs, and out of the 9, 3 were those who were esteemed by the Abu family.
Ne Nanama wait Nani and Nanama we want to never tapu ka Abu Namdalana.
But within the period Yana took over, look at the number. He considered it was just to be able to promote peace.
Nama Ayu Yana Enti Yana Aljan Kanazo. Alim Nimfosha only. The Mizama Sonia. And
I think that if his regent is put in place, he will toe the footsteps of his father. Coming back to the precedence of former Yanas. The Supreme Court looked at issues of former Yanas. And therefore brought it in their orders. And in the bank, we have a record, we have a precedence for the performance of the funerals of former Yanas.
The Malay Yeshama, the Zare, the Wood, the Malay Yana Pulisha. The funeral of Yana Bukaji, na Bukaji Pulisha,
he was removed from office. And when he died, his funeral was performed at where he died. Tamtin Karu was a Yana. You all went through the normal customary nominations and scheming. When he was removed as a Yana, he died somewhere and his funeral was performed there. And even that also affects not only Yana, even some other chiefdoms in the Dagbon.
Ne dungo ma ka Yana Kongo amare de nyela bishao dem na na shep babje. Ka de la bema to jirba.
For instance, in Savulgu.
Ne kama Savulgu.
Savulgu na Piaro was the chief of Savulgu.
Ne Savulgu na Piaro anyela Yona.
For certain reasons, he was removed.
Ne ye to shara tinang ka Yona ne.
He went and died somewhere at Tom. His funeral was not brought back to Savulgu Palace to be performed. His funeral was performed at where he died. And I can go on and go on a number of funerals that chiefs died somewhere and their funerals. So for the purposes of reconciliation that the court gave in the general orders, and Yana also considered that and signed with the understanding that the funeral will be performed where he died.
Supreme Court in Ramale, Bunda Bornang Bangama, Kainaba Jumpala, Bornang Bangama, Kairatorma, Denushamoma, Boyam Mulkulma, Bumali on dark and looks the Kulma, Kasuto Bien.
And these are clear examples, right? Probably they can dispute that these Yanas who were removed from office and they died somewhere, if their funerals were brought to the palace, I mean, people can prove that.
Mama Punyera Bernardo Poloni, Kamunjane, Lala, 1 year, can to Miel number, or Lambo to Miel number.
It's always unfortunate, my cousins, when they talk, they always indicate that there will be trouble, there will be fire, and all that. And that is quite unfortunate.
Nous kamal mutien banga tion otinele kamal mutien telephone otinele ipara bidire akula hanyere.
So your eminences, we want to follow what tradition has shown us, examples that we can cite, but not things that will create in our own interest.
Zon na yule yaba boy na ne tam kam tipo male yetora be yele to shel karabaro munna dama linye dibe nongo bonne me shujo ko jene de nonga he de toma de zo nere no nan dama pam zo karju ne te lanta hankaya en lapsana.
And so for now, your eminences, that is the submission I want to make in response to the issues that have been on the
Any other comment from the
I want to pray for permission from the eminent chief to talk. Our meeting here is a source of worry because we have been meeting for the past 4 years, and yesterday when we spoke at length, and this morning when we came, in fact, we are still not getting the way clear. In Dagbon, in Mampuru, in the Yobo, as well. Looks as the tradition at some points looks almost the same. The Nairi and the Yobomura, most of what I'm talking about.
Dana yetu aweza kuchongozo ni kura yomo simsi kabla robina pom damba
if not for this crucial issue of the death of the Yana, the Nairi and the Yobora tradition should not have moved out of their traditional areas. And those of us who are their grandsons and children likewise do not travel during this month.
Then Chakan Pilgrim Lamania, the Musamaniera, get on that Pilgrim human. The Pilla Bulaka Nazura Town, bien Sonkuna, Kavokal had to Sayana, the Rabbi Pilisari to do Mamma Fumayana, the Rabbi Pillar, not double Pillar.
My worry is when we started 4 years ago, we were told the Committee of Eminent Kings were to meet with us in consultation with the Kuana to see how they could use tradition to get the Yana buried and install its region.
Supreme Court Yetoina ka the Oleno Committee ka High Court to Yetoina man. Trapun Haila Louis, Trahaila Louis, Macabamba, Katuwinaba, Dandanaya, Dandachabi.
Talking about the Supreme Court, Olenu Committee and what committees, we all took lawyers, went to court, and we won. That was why the former Yana moved from office. He didn't perform any function as Yana. He skinned some people who were skinned, but later when they came for the sake of reconciliation, Yana skinned them again. And if I'm telling you, I bear testimony. So if the former Yana was alive and he didn't have any authority, Nana is dead. People want to say that his authority should reign supreme, and he wants to find whether it's because of that the Yana was murdered. Banvumlana is my cousin. You realize that that's my senior brother. We're from the same house. See, he's talking of his father's property. I'm also talking of my father's property. So you realize that when he got up to talk, he begged for permission. All the chiefs are his uncles. But they are that's my paternal uncles. What I want to beg the Committee of Eminent Kings is that we want to bury the Yana and skin a region. We should not, confuse or mix up the two issues. That Jankon Lana said that the region of Namamadu has a lot of people and wears a lot of power, and he wants to find out from him whether he has more people than we have.
So, as you saw,
that if you think you are sitting, is given if you are sitting on somebody's leg and you think that you are comfortable, what if that person pulls the leg? Then you see that you will hit the ground.
da so to bol me ba titi sole ka to kulti so ka jil bandam kum jam bara amana nan ben nan gon titi so ya ka ta yusu go de wayan titi so ni sa kun yo no wunta no tu wunta mo sa shiru ya ko ya nan yina tibin mali kala titi so go tan nan to sal hal ni ka ni tura mo kule
what is pleading is that is asking for permission from the Naire Otufo and the Noble. Yesterday he mentioned that if you do not use your wisdom to settle to put a stop to this problem and you allow us to talk, we will talk till evening. Yesterday I mentioned it, and true to what I said, we sat here up to evening, and my father the Naire, my father the Noble are elderly, they are tired, they have to go. So he is craving your indulgence to stamp your authority on the ground. You have made a lot of investigations. Then you tell us what to do. But we want to go and bury, and coming Monday, we want to bury and go ahead to install the radio.
There's no man, there's no katika yetana yekayel mangale. Benda mutubama katika yel mangale. Moy ban yel te yekayel mangale de melo le benda ko. On the other hand, if you think the authority of eminent kings, chiefs, in your wisdom, things that the Andanis are not right, you are their grandfathers, you tell them plainly and they go back. And if our cousins that are Buddhist are not right, you tell them. The former Yana died as a result of God's will. He fell ill and died. He was not killed. 70 people were killed in 69 and now 40 people. And we always take the pain. So he wants you to just use your wisdom, the Committee of Eminent Kings, to let us put this matter to rest. Something you want telling us what this all to do for. Benir by then 2 people spoke from the Buddhist side, 2 people spoke from the Andani side. So he would want to pray for them to end it there and use the wisdom to Fire solo.
That's where the Amura wants to
at the Yobura says we are not here to talk lengthy. All of us seated in this room, nobody is older than me as a we are here to see to have Yanaya who will be buried and his legend installed. That is why he is here. To go ahead and bury Yanaya and install his legend. And the regent installed.
Any comments before then? No one talks again and then we
Yes, Your Majesty, I just want to clarify a few points made by Ivan Panda on my statement.
Your Majesty, the Andani side is saying that he wants to put people from the Buddhist side and from the Andani side. They are still saying that, but if we allow to talk, to also get up to talk.
No one will change the perception that we have. Just to make the comments.
Your Majesty, I want to clear about the pavilion which Papa Nat talked about.
the pavilion.
What a year, you talk get the Sampala, and now you see here the trust.
I never said that the pavilion wasn't necessary. I never been satisfied.
No,
I only said the order in which they demanded certain situations out of the program.
That's on an equal.
It would have been as simple as that. The day they presented the issue of the temporary palace, this pavilion should have been in addition.
I mean, the Shaman equally body some power. They were the Yellow Sampama, the yellow company.
First on top of the pavilion, the temporary palace, we came and met and agreed. They went and put it back and came back again to ask for a pavilion, which of course are compatible. That's all what I'm saying.
They told it, you cannot tell you what the young in the cutting of what I give. When me and Kamana cutting system, they done to pull down, they didn't watch it.
I never said that. I'm a prince, I'm a royal. I wouldn't say that pavilion to Yana Prince. I never said that.
No, you're a Nabino, there's what was I and the
Now, the issue of Gazette. In the Constitution, we don't gazette our Ghanaian chiefs. We don't gazette them. It's for tradition.
Now we know that in the era of the Yana, when you're talking about it, was being gazetted.
It was being gazetted. These were politics.
It was after the 1992 Constitution.
Yes. So, Your Majesties, that means that it was politics. Why do you gazette a chief when it's going to be customary and traditional?
No, we very much appreciate that, but that was the norm at that time.
Yes.
So it's still binding on anyone at that time before 1992.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Your Majesties. The issue of skilling so many Abudu chiefs. It's a simple thing. During your reign, if chiefs don't die, do you replace them? Of course, it means that during his era, chiefs died from the Abudu side, and he is there is nothing wrong with that.
So the woman on that division machine, man, then that cheer, Abudu,
but the inference he was making was that the Yana was not biased.
Exactly, that's what I'm coming to say. These are wrong points, because if during Namama's time chiefs had died too, he would have also done the same thing.
So 1 year, 4 years, or a year ago, when I have to let the board have done young. When another come by a year, man, did I not have a temper card and did none with
the issue of whether I have ever seen a Yana after burial, a regent not skilled immediately. Yes, I have ever seen.
Well, boy, and Ominia, Yana,
when Na and Dane died, Naya was skilled Kampakwena. And due to certain reasons, he wasn't made a regent. And those peculiar issues is what I've been talking about. Because of those issues, he was moved to Balogo at the private house.
Domin yet or we are most of Shadana, but I don't issue of Bama, but that's not good level.
And these were the issues, the peculiar issues which we have to correct now. Now, I come back to the issue of the letter purported to have been written by a regional minister.
Wait a minute, clarify on one point.
Yes,
you said when Na and Dani died.
Yes.
Na Yakubu.
Yes.
Was installed by company.
Yes, Your Majesty.
And is it the same Na Yakubu was the Yana that you are referring to?
No, he wasn't. Your Majesty, he wasn't the Yana.
No. I mean, he was the regent.
Yes, Your Majesty.
And then he was moved to where?
Balogo as a Kampakwena. Not as a
No, don't worry. No, you were. Just listen to whatever. Yes, I'm listening.
And it was because of a certain situation that surrounded DAGBON that time.
And when did he become the Yana?
After the scheming of Nama Magdalene.
Then he was brought to become
Yes.
But I could told her, Campapia, as someone type of law. She went that to him, but to mark up 9 shillings. So, then shouting that in my so far, but I left people alone.
Now, Your Majesty, on the purported letter, which my brother Spanda is reading from the regional minister, I think it as a false document.
Why do you think it's a false document?
Your Majesty, if this is a letter written by the regional minister to the Yana, what is the source of this letter?
What is the source?
Yes, the source.
How did they come by the letter?
Yes, Your Majesty.
Listen, that cannot be accepted because, with all due respect, documents must have fallen. This I can see that it's been signed by the regional minister John Bauer. So it's a valid document with the crest of the government of Ghana on there. So you cannot say that it's a false document.
Your Majesty, I agree. Your Majesty, why I want to talk about this letter is the politics of the DAGBON tradition. That is where the problems are going from Nkrumah's time up to now. What is the basis for a regional minister to say that the Yana's funeral should not perform in the palace when it goes to a traditional issue? If it was because of security, Your Majesty, it's the same security issues that we are raising today.
Siasa kete na mai tuane kila ne pam nzo gula kare na karigina misatu ne bir mariya na kuliya ne nzo din nan ka de kana ya na burgina misamiye ne bir mali ya na kulna yilma de ne de tarka kuma.
Before you carry on, that letter was favoring the Abudus, you know. Because your brothers were saying that they couldn't accept the Yana Muhammad Abdullah as a former Yana. And this letter that they brought was confirming that he was being referred to as a former Yana, so it favored you.
Yes, Your Majesty. Just giving him the title is a different thing. But talking about performing the funeral not in the palace is another issue.
At that time, the Yana was in occupancy.
Yes, Your Majesty.
See, that was the reason why I'm told he didn't vacate, because they were asking him to vacate for him. And that letter at that time.
Yes,
the circumstances at that time is different from today.
Yes, Your Majesty.
Okay, because at that time the Yana Yakubu was there.
Yes.
And there was no way he was going to vacate the palace for the Abudus to perform the funeral there. Hence that letter to him saying that the funeral will be performed outside.
Yes, Your Majesty. It is in view of these points that we are pleading for you to look at the security and the peace of DAGBON. This one will accept, this one will accept. Then it means that when a region is enslaved again, there will be peace. Not that we are threatening anybody. They know the situation very well themselves, and we also know it. Because even when Nama Madu's son, Walana, had been in Yendi throughout the time he had been there, during the reign of Nayakuba, we used to have these problems because he wasn't a chief, but his people as a family go to him during festivals. Now, if they put a regent there and it starts all over again, who is going to control the situation? Can the security be there throughout?
Why would that problem come up when we are suggesting that we will form a committee, a council of elders, 3 from the Abudus, 3 from the Andanis. They together with the Kugana would oversee to the traditions and customs of DAGBON. Therefore, if we said that the regent of Na Yakubu should be there, they then would invite the son of Na Muhammad to perform the funeral of Na Muhammad Abdullah. And therefore, why? Because as soon as they finish the burial and the regency, immediately we have to put in place the funeral of Na Muhammad Abdullah. That will be first before the funeral of Na Yakubu. So what would then bring the security implication? Because we are going to make sure that when we said there's a time limit of say 30 days to perform the funeral, the son of Na Muhammadu together with whoever is responsible for the funeral of Na Muhammadu Abdullah must perform it, and then when he's given a title, they have to leave Yendi. So there wouldn't be any interference from anybody.
Your Majesty, our brothers are very clear that we all recognize Nayabwa as a guy. Therefore, his first son being made a regent is going to continue the work of his father.
No.
That is what exactly they have said.
That's exactly what we are trying to say, that look, let us agree to the modalities. As to the implementation, it is going to come from here, and we are going to be very firm on all of it.
Your Majesty, now they are being legit.
No, they are not. We would revise all that. No. You see, when we need to form the committee, they will go back to the Kugana, 3 from here, 3 from here. We'll go back to the Kugana, sit down with him to look at the program of the burial and everything. For us all to agree to that before we do it.
Yeah, Your Majesty.
Okay.
And it looks up to me, from my understanding of the presentation by Banna, that they are still challenging the school government.
No, they are not. They
are not.
They are not. There are certain things are finalities, we've agreed on certain things, they are not. The Pandana is even, he says that the orders of the Supreme Court recognizing the sons and the sons of the former Yana, so that they wouldn't be left out, and then they will be brought back into the skin and whatever. So we are clear about that.
And Your Majesty, just to wind up.
So, Sour Shelman the Barman, Corner Bala, Yeri, Dentuni, Babasa, or Shamka, Bama is Kanama down to me. Would Nanayene Kala. Boom. Shimoma, Dinamaka, BMPG, Aburi, Nanmata, and then Mata, Kalafana, Yapuna, Nibana, Kampara, Saura. Ula Karian Nanta, Gadamaya to be Namamaru, Bala, Womi, Nayaku, Gadabana, the Yara Saura and Yeri, Bara, the Paramama, and that is all. Nalama, Gadamana. 1 year, Shamba, or the Line, the Yara, the Yara, Panay or maybe she'll bangma, Bana la Korean to the Obatuma. Canada, let them with the man of the Court Supreme Court, Nayasama, when I obey Batuma, may Supreme Court, Yellow Madden Sania.
Your Majesty, you commented on something I talked about civilization. I never said that bank is not civilized.
Or Yellow wasn't bad.
During the time of the Northern territories and the Germans time, they used to wage wars against one another. Is that civilization?
Or you're not that get that conversation and share that
No. So because of why this is why this thing has been done, and it is now for the law courts and security.
They don't be too much 1 year, so what did not carry within the society man.
So I never said that bank was not civilized.
Who's obeying that bank in Dabney.
Thank you. I think it's okay now. No comment because it brings everybody again. Anton, what do you want to say again?